As promised, here is this week's video, how to make royal icing. And one of the things that we are doing in this video is that we are showing you how to make royal icing without using raw egg whites. And so we're going to be using dried egg white powder, and it's important that this be not meringue powder because meringue powder already has sugar in it. But dried egg whites are easily available online. If you just Google it, a lot of different dried egg white powders will come up. About 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 3/4 of a cup of warm water, 4 pounds plus about 1 to 2 cups of powdered sugar, and whatever type of food coloring that you prefer. And when you are choosing whatever dried egg white powder that you want to choose one that's not one that's designed for protein powder type situations. So you want to put 2 tablespoons of dried egg white powder in a cup, and generally you want one that's dishwasher safe because this stuff sets up really well, and so you want something that you can just run through the dishwasher when you're done. We're making 25 bags each of 6 colors, so 150 bags, so we're making 8 double batches within this section. This is something I do a few times a year for cookie kits that I'm making, so I figured that I would show you guys kind of what my process looks like to make it super quick. But you're going to add 3/4 of a cup of warm water to each cup, and then I just put a fork in each one and stir it well and just let it sit for a little bit to let it soak. And this is going to help it hydrate those egg whites, and a lot of people don't skip this step, but this is very, very helpful for making sure you don't have clumps in the final process. Just leave the fork in the cups. We're going to stir it every once in a while to make sure that everything gets hydrated. You do want to make sure you get all the powder from the corner of those cups because it does tend to set up down there, and you want to make sure you get all of this dried egg white powder in there because this is what's going to make the final product set really well on the cookies. You're going to let it set for about 2 hours, but you can leave it up to about 8 hours. Because this is dried egg whites, our food safety risk is not that big of a deal. But you're going to let it set for 2 hours and stir it every 30 minutes just so that we are dissolving as much of that egg white as possible and getting it as unclumpy as possible so that we are using as much of it as we can. After the first 30 minutes, you'll see that a little disc is going to form on the top, and that is like the biggest section of the clumps. And so you're going to stir each of those and get that mixed into there. This is kind of what that clump looks like. So it's real chunky, it's going to look gross, but I promise, trust the process. This is just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. We are trying to grow our channel, and that helps us out a whole lot. It's absolutely free, so go ahead and click that button. So after we have let those soak for about 2 hours, we are going to put the whip attachment onto your stand mixer. A hand mixer works absolutely fine for this. If you're doing a super big batch, that works really well. And you can just multiply up these amounts. But you're going to strain this into the bowl, and this is a really important step as well because you don't want clumps in your final product because those clumps are going to get stuck in the tip of your icing bag. So strain out the clumps, and we've gotten enough of the protein out of this to let it set, so don't worry too much about what gets left behind. And you're going to whip that on high until foamy. It's not going to take very long, maybe 20-30 seconds. And then we're just going to add a little bit of vanilla, and this is going to make it a little bit brown, just a little bit creamy of a color. You can add white food coloring to counteract that, but if you're not too particular about the color, then you don't have to do that. If I'm doing these for a high-end cookie, like a wedding cookie or something, then I will do white food coloring, but if it's not something that is super fancy, I won't do that. But you're going to turn the mixer on the lowest speed to add that in because otherwise you will have powdered sugar everywhere. And I just kind of add the powdered sugar in slowly as the mixer takes it up. And you want to scrape down your mixer really well after this stage, all the way down to the bottom, because this, unlike the beater blade, does not scrape. And so you want to make sure you work every single bit of that powdered sugar in and every single bit of the egg white so you have a consistent texture throughout. And then you're going to add a little extra cup or so of powdered sugar and mix that until it's smooth. We're looking for a particular consistency, and this is going to kind of depend on what your final product is. We are making all of this flood consistency, which is so that you get those nice, pretty smooth cookies that people are looking for when they're looking for sugar cookies. And so the way that you know that that's done is you lift the whip up, and if the icing settles within 10 to 15 seconds, that's a good flood consistency. So now I'm going to show you guys how we make the bags for decorating, and I like the really thin weight bags because they're a little bit easier to work with and you don't have to squeeze them as much. And so get yourself a cup, and this cup is made specifically for pastry bags, but any cup will work. In fact, prior to having this, I have a set of paper cups that I reuse over and over again. I have a set of 100 of them, and I would just lay them out all over my counter. And using a scoop to scoop your icing in there is usually the quickest thing to do. You don't want to fill it more than halfway because the icing will come out the top. And then I am using a tape sealer for this, but you can also use zip ties, and you just kind of press that down into the tape sealer. If you are working with people that don't know exactly what they're doing and that they are highly likely to squeeze the bags a little bit too hard, like younger kids, zip ties work a little better for this. But if you are working with older kids that are going to be able to twist the bags as they go, the tape sealer is a lot quicker and goes a lot faster. And then to separate the bags from each other, so like when you're picking them up and trying to open them and stuff, keep a damp cloth to wet your fingers, because you definitely do not want to lick your fingers to separate them.
Oh, gross.
So, to make colored icing, you're going to make your icing just as you normally would and get it to that same consistency. You may want to make it a tad bit thicker than you normally would because the coloring will thin it just a tiny bit. But then we're going to switch to the paddle. We're making about 18 to 20 bags out of this batch. If you are making the smaller amounts, you can just move these into separate bowls and use a rubber spatula to stir it. But if you're coloring a whole lot at one time, then the scraper attachment works very, very well for this. And you're just going to put your color in there and add a little bit at a time. Don't be too generous with it because it goes further than you would think. And add it until the desired color is reached. You do want to go a little bit lighter than what you want your final color to be, because the color does deepen overnight. So don't go completely to the color that you want it to be. Food coloring kind of gets darker over time. If you're using natural colors, so if you're using like the Wilton natural colors that don't have the artificial dyes in them, it takes a whole lot of that to get to a certain color, and they pretty much will always look a little pastel-y, so that's something to think about as well. Also, if you care about the way your rubber spatulas work, you may want to use a similar color of rubber spatula to what your icing colors are. So I have colors of rubber spatulas that are kind of the same as my icing colors, so that I don't end up with them being stained the colors of the icing, because the food coloring does stain. This is a little packing time lapse. I ended up with over 150 bags from this day of making icing. But a little trick if you are making a whole lot of bags of icing at one time is if you are making a darker color and you don't want to have to wash your dishes a million times, make the darker color after your lighter color. So I'm making black after red, and you don't have to wash your mixer, because that way you don't have to worry about it. Now, it is really important to think about your dye colors if somebody is allergic, but I don't necessarily worry about using black after red because black food coloring does have red 40 in it already. So these are the colors that I make for my Christmas cookie kits, but this is just an easy way if you are doing a cookie making business, or if you just want to make cookies for your own cookie decorating kits. This is an easy way to do it. The dried egg whites are an easy way to do it without worrying about food safety. If this is something that you want to see, or if you have direct questions that you want to ask on the air so that you can get direct feedback, Our membership levels are a great way to do live chats and things like that. So we would love to have some more members join so that we can have a community going. So if you are interested in joining, please do. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, comment below if you decide to try this out, and we will see you next week.